Well, greetings. It's Dr. Dean Blevins, and welcome to PTH690 Leadership, Innovation, and Design. And this short video is really to help you to actually get used to the fact that we will be working a lot online in Moodle, which by now many of you are used to, but also with a different learning platform called Canvas, which provides a digital workbook that we'll be engaged with as well. So I thought I might provide you a brief introduction, and if it looks like I'm looking away in just a moment, it's because I'm looking at a larger screen just to walk you through all the different elements inside this course, basically the technical elements for the day. Just so you know, one thing is when you begin looking at this Moodle site, you'll be aware that there are just a lot of different tabs. And if you were to expand them all and take a look at them, you would be quickly somewhat overwhelmed by the amount of material that you'll be working down and working through. So I hope you hear that the first thing I'm going to recommend you do for the majority of the class is scroll to the top, find this little box that says collapse all, and collapse the major tabs. Excuse me. This will allow you then to kind of keep track of which week you're in and which tab in particular to open as you need them. Just a reminder, and you can always close this course index, but on the left-hand side, there's also an index that has all of the different resources that are available to you as you go through each of the sections. And so you can always sort of navigate to different topics this way, but that works a whole lot better than trying to open up every one of these weekly tabs, including sometimes where, well, you have options for the week. So you might have two tabs where you only necessarily have to work in one of those. It's better just to kind of keep these closed to kind of work with. Just so you're aware, I think most of you already know, the first tab is about general information and support. It includes the syllabus. It will also include the Zoom link that we'll be using and we meet on Thursday nights. It also includes the announcements forum. And if you've had courses with me in the past, you know I like to communicate to the class as a whole through announcements. So you can always then go back in and locate a previous email perhaps that you got from me that was addressed to all the class. You can go inside the announcements forum and find it there. So that's just something to remind you of. Then, yes, there'll be an assignments tab where all the major assignments for the semester are sort of kept together. They're not differently than an online course where things are offered week by week. This is a little bit more like a syllabus class so that we kept all the assignments in one place. It's easier to find them that way because of the volume of material that you'll be engaged in. I will encourage you to look under additional course resources for a couple things. One is you'll see this thing, it's called a book, that it's called The Entrepreneur's Journey. And when you open that, what you engage in is a whole list of entrepreneurs that you can get to know and that you will meet as we go through the semester. And this just provides you a kind of introduction to each of them before it's all said and done. And this will be important to kind of help you get familiar with some of the videos that we'll be engaged in. And if memory serves me, I think we have 15 different ones that are involved inside this book, if you will. Other than that, the other thing I would say that you will want to spend time in is this link called Link to Ministerial Entrepreneurship Fast Track Canvas. Now, that is basically the main link that will take you to, when you open that up, take you to the Canvas course that we're engaged in this semester. And I'm going to just collapse everything for a moment, just so you see the basic headings, much like you do when I collapse all these, so that when you see week 1, week 2, you can correlate that to what's going on inside the Canvas. As a matter of fact, each week, normally the first half of the title for the week, say like week 2, will be around the reading and the general discussion. But the second half of the title in the class normally will connect directly to one of the major topics inside the Canvas portal or the digital workbook, which is how we're going to treat it this semester. That really, after you do the introduction, week 1, covers 5 major areas: ideate, position, commit, refine, and launch. Now, again, under each one of these, you have a lot of different elements to work on during this semester, but don't be too discouraged by that. Actually, the actual Canvas site is pretty intuitive. It provides you a way of reading and engaging the basic material. If it has an activity for you to work on, like your personal vision statement, when you click on that, it takes you to that so that you can be engaged with that, but it also gives you a link then to basically come back to where you were in the site. And then when you go down at the bottom and you see the previous and next, this is a kind of element that Canvas has. You can always click on next and it will just take you further into the material that you're going to engage in. And you will run into videos, usually short videos, and information on what is entrepreneurship and just some of the kind of talking points. If you look at the total content within any one page, you can tell it's a fairly short read, but the goal is to kind of keep you moving in this workbook so that you're reading, thinking, but at the same time, you're asking yourself questions, hearing short videos, and then also they'll give you links to different types of resources if you want to gather them. And normally, before it's all over with, it will also give you a sort of a task that you'll take on, which will help you then be ready to bring that information back into the Moodle site. So I did want to kind of cover a little bit of that. But anytime you go back to the modules, and you can always up here just collapse them all. This will keep you with the major topics, and that might also help you sort of know how to engage where you need to be in the class. Well, back to Moodle for just a minute, just so you know. So how does that work in the Moodle site, which is still the predominant site that we'll spend most of our time in? And this is going to be the major place. Well, sometimes, and you'll see the week course introduction, you'll have a forum, and then normally there'll be a place that basically invites you to navigate over to the entire Canvas course again. And I'll just collapse all just so you can kind of keep this manageable from that standpoint. And you'll be working across these two and then come back. There'll be other times when there'll be other sort of assignments. And week 1 is introductions, a little bit different from that standpoint, since we'll probably be getting together before you'll be doing a lot of serious work. So perhaps even better than week 1 is to look at week 2. And this will really highlight the way the 2 classes work together. So when you open up week 2, the first thing you'll see is a forum, which will basically invite you to post some material from an assigned reading for that week. And yes, we will have some traditional reading, not really large books or massive amounts of reading, but we'll be reading along in several books as the semester unfolds. And normally I want you to post an initial reflection on that reading by Wednesday night prior to our Zoom meeting on Thursday in class. And you can just open that up, those of you who've had courses with me, and post your forum. Then immediately below that, you're going to find a URL connection, which takes you, guess where? Well, it should take you right back to the Canvas course, and it takes you inside where you need to be in Canvas. Now, if that is a little bit unnerving, remember you can always go back to the main site if you need it, just to kind of locate yourself. But once you're inside this setting, it takes you right where you need to be, and you can then begin to sort of navigate into the different material again as you move forward. As a matter of fact, and we'll go back to Moodle again for just a second. Even in the prompts, a lot of times when you look down, you'll find hyperlinks there, and that's there many times because of a copy paste straight out of Canvas that would, if you were to click on it, take you right to where you need to go. But you'll notice something different. This actually replaces the Moodle site. So if you start that way, Moodle has disappeared. So you have to then reverse direction to get back into Moodle. So I'm just going to be upfront and say most of the time the smart money is to actually use the hyperlink that's in the forum. It's in the in the URL itself, right here at the top. It should take you to the approximation of where you need to be inside of Canvas, and that's a lot more manageable from that standpoint. They'd want to alert you that, if you need to in a hurry, you can always get directly into Canvas, but you may find yourself suddenly having to open up Moodle in a new tab if you do that, just to get back to where you need to be in Moodle. It's just a prompt and a perspective. But I think you'll find that for the most part, the Canvas material will be fairly intuitive. And yes, if you go back to the whole thing and you expand on all of them, you get a feel of at least how many pages is probably the best way to think of each of these that you'll be going through, or subtopics might be a better way to think of it, as you work through the class. It's interactive, so it has a lot of different components, some of which I'll explain even in a later video. I just wanted you to kind of get a feel, and I'm going to encourage you to spend some time sort of bouncing around and playing with it before our course starts, or definitely in the first week of the course, as well as taking the pre-course survey and reading through the introduction to Fast Trac that they provide. That's part of your first week's assignment. So what else is going on inside the Moodle class? Yes, I've got a forum to interact with on Wednesday nights. I interact with the Canvas, and then I do have another forum that I have to post initial reflections. So here I'm asking you to basically engage that material on the entrepreneurial lifestyle that we just sort of looked at, and how would you apply this information in your ministry, observations by class time, and that is due by class time. Why? So that you have that information available, everybody can take a look at it, and we can discuss it in the class. So yes, each week you'll have 2 forum posts, not extensive, but at least enough to give you prompts and to kind of chart your own journey in and through the Fast Trac material. As a matter of fact, some weeks you may find yourself having 3 posts, the third one not due before class, but due by the end of the week, where I want you to just kind of reflect on your encounter with the Fast Trac workbook and navigating one of those larger categories of ideate, position, refine. It's just a way of kind of keeping that information flowing inside our class as you're reflecting on it, as well as doing the task inside the workbook. But you'll also discover underneath that several other videos and video resources. Some of these I may play on occasion when we're together in class, but many of them are just supplemental. And the reason is, if you notice, we talked about, let me find one, a video inside Fast Trac on entrepreneurship. And normally this is from a business leader talking about how she started her business. Well, inside the Moodle site, you will find videos also of leaders who started their own ministries, perhaps a pastor who started his own business, a church who started actually started to create spaces for multiple businesses, or sometimes a social entrepreneur who saw a vision of what she thought would be a tremendous ministry as well. And as you hear the voices of these entrepreneurs who are really thinking about entrepreneurship with ministry in mind, you are finding yourself in a different world, being with a greater augmentation of narratives, if you will, around entrepreneurship that is bigger than even what Fast Trac offers in and of itself. As a matter of fact, almost every week you will find one very large selection. This one is extremely large, and no, you will not be asked to take a look at all these, but it just gives you the kind of options and opportunities of how different people thought about their own ministry and entrepreneurship together. And I would encourage you, as the semester unfolds, to just navigate through and start finding ideas and concepts that speak to you out of these different efforts. You can always go back then and look up the person under the additional course resources. But this is the other piece that Moodle has to offer right alongside the Kauffman workbook that we'll be engaged in as well. Now, is that all we're going to be doing all semester? No. Again, let me reiterate that in the adjustment that we made at Nazarene Theological Seminary to a 2-hour Zoom meeting each week, we needed to provide at least 1 hour that augmented that material. And the best way to do it was by, well, providing a workbook like the Kauffman workbook to sort of guide you through about an hour's worth of work with some of the supplemental materials as well, so that you would come into class already prepped in that area, and then we could then focus on some of the other themes that have come through the reading. As a matter of fact, we'll be looking at transformational leadership, we'll be talking about design thinking, we'll be talking about innovation and the theology of innovation. There'll be a lot of other things going on as a part of the class, but this workbook is really to kind of teach you a skill set, if you will, around entrepreneurship, so that, well, you've been there, sort of done that each week as you walk in and you're prepared to have a discussion around that material. And then we can spend some of the other time not only unpacking what you've discovered that week through the workbook, but also then expanding on the readings and other material through either my presentations or our discussions together. Well, I'm going to stop the share for just a moment and just say that I hope this has proven helpful as a kind of way of beginning to get used to both the Moodle site and, yes, this digital workbook, this fast track course on entrepreneurship, augmented, sort of surrounded by all of these resources around ministerial entrepreneurship as a key component inside the class, but not all that the class is going to be working on. Do spend time sort of getting used to both sites. If nothing else, I know it's going to seem fairly daunting, just the amount of information, but just remember we're working on it on a week-by-week basis, and with a goal in mind that by the end of the semester, that you'll be able to have both a sense of being at home within this language of entrepreneurship, thanks to Fast Track, but also being at home with other big ideas like transformational leadership and design thinking that will all be there to augment what we're doing inside the workbook itself. My prayers to you as you get started in the class, and don't be shy if you need to reach out to me. I'm going to be a little bit busy at times getting ready for the semester, but I'm hoping that you'll be ready to come to the first week of the semester with either questions to send me by email ahead of time if you really feel like you need to do that, or to bring questions to our first meeting in class. So I'll be praying for you, and yes, we'll be providing some other sort of coaching and resources as we go along. So God bless and take care.